With 2020 being the year it was, generating new leads and sales has been difficult. What if you could become better at finding your ideal customers and turning those precious leads into sales? Well, today we're joined by Rob Austin, the sales mechanic and founder of Commission with Permission, and he explains the importance of selling the right way and how that impacts your brand's growth. Welcome to the Unified Brand Podcast, brought to you by Elements Brand Management, a weekly brand building and brand strategy podcast to help you unlock your brand's potential, stand out from the competition, and create impact. Today, we're joined by Robert Austin, the sales mechanic and founder of Commission with Permission, a sales coaching company that helps sales teams and solopreneurs to improve, refine, and accelerate their sales process, allowing them to find the right prospects, close quicker, and most importantly, get more sales. Great to have you on the Unified Brand Podcast, Rob. Can you tell us a bit about yourself, Commission with Permission, and how you got into sales?
Wow, great intro, Chris. Thank you. Yes, it's a pleasure to be here. Yeah, a little bit about myself. I'll keep it brief. So I, as I said, run a sales consulting business, Commission with Permission. We specialize in the bread and butter of sales, the main drive behind any business, which is their sales process. I like to not to point out what's wrong, but to help businesses fine tune where they are and find out where they want to be and put in structures in place to help them get there. A lot of businesses try to stay away from saying they sell, but at the end of the day, they are selling. So I'm trying to help business to be able to compel their customers and understand their vision and really, really just get them to deal with better quality type of business. My own little journey, I did start off actually in corporate hospitality. So I worked in hotels and restaurants and I managed receptions and all sorts of things. And I got a bit fed up, Chris, with all honesty. I was working every type of shift, 3 a.m. in the morning, doing weddings and all sorts of things. I got a bit burnt out doing hospitality. So I kind of looked for the next best thing without completely changing what I did, which was either being a plumber or an engineer. I wouldn't have a clue where to start. So sales was a natural progression for me because I was always selling something without being a salesperson. So I progressed and worked in a corporate call center down in Exeter for a few years and had some great clients like Barclaycard and Eon and Funding Circle. Really, really enjoyed the buzz that I got from selling and really helping people achieve their goals through business funding and card payment services, and thought, I'm really good at this and really enjoyed it. But obviously things got in the way and I thought, I can do this by myself and help other people do this. So I did, and kind of here we are. If that was a bit long, Chris, I apologize.
No, it's fine. That's great. We'll get on to sort of the misconceptions of sales in a minute. But there was something that came out of that, what you just said, that is interesting. So do you think that working in hospitality and the way that you work with people and have that approachable nature has helped with sales? Does that help your system of sales make it different from other salespeople out there?
Massively. Great question, Chris. Absolutely. Hospitality gave me the foundations of what I'm doing now. How to deal with different types of people. Because like I always keep saying, I met people from all around the world. I work with different nationalities, and it made me a much humbler person to be able to have these conversations and meet great people and manage great people. And it made me the person who I am. It gave me the confidence to be able to talk to different types of people. And that's obviously what we do in sales, is talk. No one person's the same. So being able to approach people at different angles and have those conversations where some people might need a bit more attention than others, some people need to work off, that gave me those basic principles without knowing them. And obviously now that I know about them, I've expanded on them. So that, yes, absolutely, that gave me the foundations of kind of where I am today. Because at the end of the day, like I said, I don't know a single business that isn't selling. When I worked in the reception of hotels, I was selling rooms or upselling or champagne or something like that. So yes, absolutely, it gave me the foundations.
Wow, yeah. So in terms of misconceptions, I mean, we've had a conversation about this before as well. And I think, what are some of the main misconceptions that you see with regards to sales that business owners have?
Yeah, obviously, this is the thing. So again, going back to it, I've met so many different types of people, all with different opinions about what sales is and what is sales. Sales is, I get it, everyone, sales has that stigma. It has that, I don't sell. It's selling is for bad people. It's sales. I don't want to be sold to. And I get that. Nobody likes to be sold to. But remember, everyone loves to buy. And what I mean by that is sales isn't this snake oil, this pushy. Of course, that they do exist. And I get that. But that's the same for any industry. But it always gets labeled as sales. But now more than ever, we need to be compelling. There's so much rubbish out there, so much pushy, aggressive tactics. Let's be different. Let's take a step back, but just admit that we are selling. Let's have a mindset that it's not an issue. There's no problem at all when you sell something to somebody who needs what you do. There's no problem behind that. I hope you would agree, Chris.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's one of the things that, we can talk about how we met, we met in a networking group, and I was doing a presentation on branding, and I mentioned all the touch points and I hadn't put sales in there, and you called me up on that, and we had that conversation. We did a sort of brief one-to-one, and then we did the training, and it was on that training that I realized how wrong I had been perceiving sales, because I had those misconceptions to a point, and it was holding me back because I was seeing sales as this thing that I was almost doing to somebody else. I'm doing this thing to somebody else, as opposed to, like you just said, as soon as I made the mindset shift to being, no, I have a service and what we do is good, and I can help people. I can help these people that I'm talking to, and there's nothing bad about that. And if that person's not in that time, it's not right for that person at that time, that's fine. But yeah, that mindset shift was a massive, massive thing that helped me so much with my journey, my sales journey. And, I would proudly say now that I sell after, working with yourself.
Sales is a mindset. It's an art form. It really is. The psychologies, stuff to learn, questions to ask at the right times, being able to compel the person you're talking to understand why they need your product without using fancy words or aggressive tactics. That is the bad way of selling. But selling is being able to sell your vision, your story, your feelings to that person so they turn into a raving fan, as somebody who loves what you do, who needs what you do. And if they don't need what you do, absolutely fine, move on. But you're right, sales is a complete mindset, and there's nothing wrong with it as long as that person needs what you do.
Yeah, and I think that evolution of mindset for me has been a massive shift, and especially, like you said, the sales story. So it'd be interesting to sort of touch on that a little bit, because that's something that you do that I haven't seen anyone else do, and for me, it's something that has truly helped, because it's not only helped me with selling, but it's helped me with a lot of areas of my business, understanding my sales story. So could you touch on what that is a little bit and how it helps?
Good. Yeah, brilliant. So the sales story, obviously, going back to as children, we all love stories, and it's not changed when we grow up. We all love the good story, and I know you're a massive Star Wars fan, as am I.
Yeah.
Because we all grew up with a story. We still love it to this day because it gives you. What does it do? It creates those emotions. It creates those touch points in you as a person, and that's what people buy off, is based on emotion. Back it up with logic, obviously, but people primarily buy off emotions. So let's create those emotions, and we can do that by storytelling. We can do that by compelling people to understand why they need what we do. But at the end of the day, customers don't want to have a difficult way of understanding what business does. They don't want a massive thing to read all about them. And that's what I see, Chris, and I think we touched on this, is where a lot of the mistakes people make is talking about them. Me. We're here, we're based here, we've got offices all around here, our logo is blue. Nobody cares. They want you to be the expert. They want you to understand them as a person. That's why the sales story that we create is centered solely on them, your ideal customer. Who is the ideal customer? We can have that conversation all day long, but get an idea of the reasons people buy from you. And to be honest, Chris, I'm talking to businesses 20 years, I wouldn't have a clue where to start. It's a very simple story to put the ideal customer at the center of attention. And the only way we can do that is by solving their challenges. And because at the end of the day, that's all they care about.
Yeah, definitely. On that note, actually, what are some of the biggest mistakes that you see sort of businesses, companies doing with regards to sales, including what you just said, that is holding them back?
Again, whether they know it's holding them back, that's the next question. But it's a good question, because it is holding them back. But the biggest thing about what I do, and again, very much similar to you, is that they don't know it's a problem. But I can obviously spot that, and you as an expert in branding can spot that if their logo's not working, or their branding, or their colors are off, or their message is wrong, but they don't know it's an issue. But what could be holding them back is just their pushy messages that all the time, every day I wake up, I get LinkedIn messages, and we all get them. And there's, hey, how you doing? And then suddenly there's a massive sales pitch. That's what's happening too much. But the difference is they're all talking to scale, and I get that. But if they can refine their message, really understand the person they're talking to, spot an article, great article, or look at their website at least, do some research and do some touch points to understand that person, you'll get a much better response. So the biggest thing holding people back is that the scattergun approach. We need that fine-tuned sniper approach to really, really get to who they want to speak to. Rather than quantity, we want quality. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's something that we've been guilty of in the past, of messaging people on LinkedIn without that kind of focus. And I think after going through your process, one of the things that sort of done is refine that LinkedIn messaging, but also just messaging in general. Whenever it comes to sales, if we're talking to somebody on the phone or a lead's come in and we're following up, it's allowed us to do that, to be a bit more holistic, a bit more focused and quicker as well. I mean, one of the comments I got from somebody literally after doing the training with you was, if I'd have known this was going to be, and they were talking about a discovery call we booked in, but he kept on pushing it back. And then we finally had the call and he said to me, if I'd have known it was going to be this straightforward, this easy, and this like much fun to have done this discovery call, I would have done it so much sooner. And that's only through what you sort of helped me to do with the training, because you made it around that individual. So that sales story helped me to define and develop that discovery call around that individual. And it really did make a difference.
I suppose just touching on that, and you're absolutely right. And I think another one that could be holding anybody back is that they're quite happy with the level of inquiries they get. They're quite lucky to get constant referrals or constant inquiries, but they don't really understand, what do those referrals or inquiries look like? Who is my ideal customer? And what I mean by that, who's my dream customer? Because there's not enough drive to improve because they're getting enough in, but they're spending a lot of time and energy doing that. Why not refine it, ask those better questions and deal with better quality business to do less? That makes sense as well. That's kind of an element and definitely a result from taking a step back and investing in yourself and your business, especially with the most important element, which is selling.
Yeah, that does make sense. And I think that's really important, is having that ideal client, that dream customer. And I think that really plays into the brand as well. So understanding who that is a crucial part of building your brand. And I know we'll come on to it in a minute, how sales is almost the front lines of brand building. But we'll talk about that in a minute. But I was going to touch on, what are some of your top tips? So what are some things that the listeners today, they can do sort of straight away, put it into their sales process or what they do in selling that will make a difference?
Yeah. So biggest one would be kind of obvious to me, but not to so many. It's practice, guys. Practice. Just spend some time having I know it's cheesy. I know it's uncomfortable, but we got to be comfortable being uncomfortable and doing a bit of practice, bit of role play, become a customer and have a practice. If you work by yourself, ask you what to get involved. I don't know. Or your partner. Have a day or an hour, once a week, more, I would hope, at least once a week, having a practice session and practice before your next customer, because that customer is going to be worth a lot of money coming in. It's worth practicing and making those mistakes. And I know a lot of people held back by that because they're either too busy or they don't really want to be self-criticized or whatever, but get that out of your mind. We need to be practicing. And I compare this, and we've discussed this before, Chris, to athletes, and I don't know a single professional athlete that doesn't spend at least 4,000 hours visualizing every swing, every kick, every step, everything before their next match, their next event. They're practicing so hard because they want to be top of their game. But a lot of businesses don't put that much effort into that. And again, it's the biggest shame, because sales, what else pays the bills? It's sales. So getting that right is crucial. Another top tip would be something I've been working on recently, and a way to structure any questions to your client is the what and the how. Something I've picked up recently that I work massively within my building a sales script, asking your customers or people. Try this on a normal day, Chris, even yourself. Just try this and be amazed at the response you'll get. So asking people what type questions and how type questions, because everybody loves being asked what they do or how they do things. So remember, what we're trying to understand is why certain people do certain things, but why, when you ask somebody why, it's quite accusational. When we were children, when you knock something over, your parents, just the first thing they would say is, why did you do that? So we can still ask why, but with what and how. So I hope that helps. So try and ask your customers a lot more hows and whats of why they do what they do.
Yeah, that does make sense. Since we had our training and you told me about that, I've actually started doing that more with my daughters. So before I would do that with my daughters, why did you do that? But now it's kind of, like you said, what were you hoping to achieve from doing that? What was the reason that you decided to do this? And it's a different kind of, what you then get from, in my case with my daughter, what I get is she will then tell me the motivation behind the reason she was doing something. Yeah. And that's really important, because when you're accusational, especially I know get a bit of a tangent with children, but with children is you don't actually get the why. And sometimes it can be a really lovely thing. Like the reason she did something was because she wanted to make her sister happy. But what she's done, the vehicle she's chosen to make her sister happy was completely the wrong thing to do. But the motivation behind it was different. And I guess with sales, it's similar because you want to find the motivation behind what it is they're trying to achieve, because that might change them whether or not you're going to work with them, or there might be something deeper going on. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense. Absolutely. Yeah, perfect, Chris. Glad that you're using it for your children.
Yeah.
And again, remember, this goes back to selling. We're always selling something. What you try to do there was sell your opinion or your words, and again, sales can come down to your tonality, the way you deliver it to your daughter. If you deliver it with a very high-pitched voice, it's not going to make the same message. But when you calm your voice and you really talk, you empower that tonality, it's selling your authority, aren't you? Give me back to the very beginning that we're all selling something.
Yes, and when you were talking about the role play side of things there, when we did that in the training, and at first of all, I was a bit like, I'm a bit apprehensive, a bit nervous about this, but as soon as we started going, that was so good because it's a brilliant environment to do it in the role playing, because you'd stop and we'd dissect what had just been said. We'd go over it, like you said, we might talk about tonality, or we talk about how to phrase a question a bit better, or maybe the fact that I was skipping past the sort of rapport and things like that. So there were some really good things in the role playing that really sort of honed what I was doing. And I can still hear it now. So if I'm on a call with a prospect, I can hear your voice in my head sort of coaching me through it, which was really useful, which is, really good.
I really appreciate that, Chris. And again, I don't want the conception of having a sales coach or any type of business coach point the finger at you saying what you're doing is wrong. It's not. I'm in the business of improving and re-education, not about pointing the finger at you or what everything you're doing is wrong. It's not about that. It's you are doing everything right. But here's a small push. Here's to get you where you want to be, a bit quicker and a bit more empowering than doing it by yourself or not having that somebody in the background just to make sure you're on the right path. I hope that makes sense.
Definitely. So from your point of view, you sort of touched on it a little bit, but what is the importance of sales training, be it for a business with a sales team or for a business that doesn't have a sales team or just a solopreneur? What do you see as the importance of it?
Yes. So obviously my opinion about the importance of it may differ from the next, but the importance of sales training, because obviously, like I said, at the end of the day, what else pays the bills but sales? Having a closed client or a client who's crossed the line, whether you call it customer onboarding or business development, it's still the essence of sales. And again, going back to the concept that people try and stay away from the word sales, we're using the word sales training because that's exactly what it is. So it's, again, not pointing the finger at you to what you're doing wrong. It's about improving and having a structure and having something consistent. So when you are onboarding new salespeople, or if you do work by yourself and you achieve more sales and you get bigger and bigger, you've got a framework that you can give a new staff member rather than making up as you go along, going round in circles, as I see so many salespeople do. They go round in circles with no objective to their calls. There's no start to finish. They just kind of go round in circles. And again, that will work 2-3 times out of 10. But could you imagine if you go 6 to 7? I'm being realistic, Chris. If I can say I'll close 10 deals out of 10, then I'll be lying, but virtually, let's say with 6 or 7. Could you imagine getting 6 or 7 or 8 across the line instead of just 2 or 3? Because a lot of businesses are just happy with 2 or 3, which is fine. Keep doing what you're doing. But if you've got that drive and that ambition to get to 5 or 6 or 7, then sales training is definitely a must. It's not, again, pointing the finger at saying what you're doing is wrong, but to improve, get you where you want to be a bit quicker and a lot faster than doing it by yourselves.
Definitely. And from a brand building point of view, sales is the front line of brand building, because it's a lot of the times it's the first touch point or one of the early touch points. Maybe they've come through a marketing funnel or they've come through some sort of lead generation. But a lot of the times it will be one of the first touch points that your audience will have with your brand and your business. So therefore, if you don't have a process in place, if you're not sure on what you're doing, you don't have a sales story, what you're actually doing is you're also diluting your brand at the same time. You're confusing your brand to your audience if your sales team or you as an individual doesn't understand how to sell effectively, also in your tone of voice, from your point of view, the sales story, and getting that across. I think it's a really crucial part to brand building.
Yeah, excellent. I totally agree. And again, it might not be a problem now. It might not be a problem. You're getting loads of referrals, you're getting loads of inquiries. Everybody wants what you do, which is great. Something's working. But how long can that last consistently? Did we ever envisage we'd ever have 2 lockdowns within a year? Has it hit my? Yeah, absolutely. And I work remotely. So Absolutely. Key points. We need to be getting it right all the time, not just for next day results, but for 2-year results, 5-year results, to keep that consistent plan in place.
Definitely. So are there any sort of trends or anything you're seeing at the moment or anything on the horizon that you think is something that you're looking into with regards to sort of sales and the process?
Good question. Any trends? So nothing that jumps to mind, but again, just keeping that consistently, having frameworks to follow, keep practicing and keep working on what you're doing, not to get too reliant on referrals. And the biggest trend that I'm seeing is embrace technology. I wish I took shares in Zoom. I'm sure everybody else is saying that going back to the beginning of the year. So embrace and adapt and change, because unfortunately, whether we like it or not, change is coming. It happened. Changes come yesterday. So we are now 10 years ahead in terms of embracing Zoom, and other video platforms are available, of course. So the trends that I'm seeing, there are still people out there relying on referrals, relying on trying to do as many face-to-face as safely as possible, of course, but just embrace what we got. Life's getting easier. Embrace our tools at our disposal. Is probably the biggest trend that I'm seeing, is people still just a little bit clinging on a little bit. I get it. And I cling on to things. I get it. But we do need to embrace and adapt.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's been really good having you on the podcast, Rob, and really appreciated you coming on. Where can people find out about you, Commission with Permission, and how can they follow up after this podcast?
Brilliant. Yes. So my website is www.commissionwithpermission.com. On there, I've got a link to a free Sales MOT, which I call it, which is just an hour with me doing a bit of a role play, or even just having a chat about what you're doing, where you want to be, and gain that clarity from an outsider's perspective. The way I see it is, if you have got a big sales meeting or a sales client call in the next, maybe not now, in the next couple of weeks, or maybe tomorrow, who knows, then it's best to make those mistakes with an outside perspective who can give you some hot tips and maybe improve your conversation to go and close that sale the next day. Or you had a call in the past that went horrifically wrong or didn't go to planned, and we've all got those. And I've never met anyone who doesn't. So replay that scenario and see if we can improve on it and have a chat about it, or just make one up entirely, but just have a bit of fun. But it's not, again, to point the finger of what you're doing wrong, and just to get some valuable feedback from a sales mentor and get you where you want to be. And again, you might learn something out of that hour and have a bit of fun around it. So yeah, that's a Sales MOT. That's available on the website, and it'll be great to do that with you.
Yeah, I can't recommend that highly enough. Like I said, that call we talked about earlier on, that was just a really big client. Wouldn't have gone as well as it did without the sales training I did with Rob. So definitely, if you've got a sales call coming up, or if you've got a need to sort of improve your sales process, and most people need to have a look at it at least and have a chat with somebody that knows what they're doing, definitely get onto Rob. I'll put the link in the description to his website. You can book a free Sales MOT from Rob and have a chat and just get those sales process polished up for 2021, because it's the year that we all need to sort of bounce back and get those sales coming in. So it's well worth doing.
Excellent.
Great coming on, Rob, and hopefully we can do it again sometime.
Thank you, Chris. Really, really a pleasure as always. And yeah, thanks for having me.
No worries. Cheers, Rob.
Thanks for all the best.
We've just put together a weekly brand tip video series, which is designed to help you to unlock your brand's potential and stand out from the competition. And if you're interested, if you just go to elementsbrandmanagement, all one word, .co.uk/weekly-brand-tips. Sign up and you'll be delivered a 3 to 5 minute video a week straight to your inbox. I'll put a link in the show notes if you're interested. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to receive more, you can subscribe in all the usual places. We're talking iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher. Please, if you get a chance, rate and review. It helps the podcast to kind of get a bit more visibility and allows us to keep on producing these podcasts. Have a great week. Catch up soon. Keep those brands unified.